Erickson Lubin has officially thrown down the gauntlet, and the boxing world is paying attention. Years after suffering one of the most devastating defeats of his professional career, Lubin is once again calling out former undisputed super welterweight champion Jermell Charlo, and this time he's making a statement that has fans talking across the boxing community. Lubin believes he deserves another opportunity to face Charlo, and he's not lacking confidence. In fact, he recently declared, "I'm the better boxer," a bold claim considering how their first fight ended. Those words have reignited interest in one of boxing's unfinished rivalries and sparked an important question. Does Erickson Lubin deserve a rematch with Jermell Charlo? And if the two fighters meet again, could the outcome be completely different? To answer that question, we have to revisit the night that changed both of their careers. Back in October 2017, Erickson Lubin entered the biggest fight of his life as an undefeated contender with enormous expectations. At just 22 years old, many experts believed he had the talent, speed, and boxing IQ to become the next great champion in the super welterweight division. Across the ring stood Jermell Charlo, the reigning WBC champion who was determined to prove he belonged among boxing's elite. Fans expected a tactical battle between two gifted young fighters, but what happened shocked everyone. Less than 3 minutes into the fight, Charlo landed a perfectly timed right hand that caught Lubin clean on the jaw. Lubin collapsed to the canvas, and although he bravely attempted to continue, the referee immediately waved off the contest. It was one of the quickest championship knockouts of the year and instantly became one of the defining moments of Charlo's career. For Lubin, however, it was a painful lesson that could have ended his rise to the top. Many fighters never fully recover after suffering such a devastating knockout on the biggest stage of their careers, but Erickson Lubin refused to let that loss define him. Instead of disappearing from the spotlight, he quietly went back to work. He rebuilt his confidence, sharpened his skills, and gradually climbed back into title contention through hard-earned victories. Over the following years, Lubin defeated several respected opponents and proved that he possessed much more than raw talent. He developed into a smarter, more patient, and more disciplined fighter who relied less on athleticism and more on ring intelligence. His jab became more effective, his footwork improved, and his defensive awareness reached another level. Every fight added experience, and every victory brought him one step closer to another world title opportunity. Although he later suffered a brutal battle against Sebastian Fundora in a Fight of the Year contender, Lubin earned tremendous respect for his heart, toughness, and determination. Even in defeat, he showed the boxing world that he belonged among the elite fighters in the division. That experience only strengthened his belief that he has grown into a much more complete boxer than the young prospect who faced Charlo years ago. Today, Lubin insists that the first fight doesn't accurately represent the gap between their abilities. According to him, one mistake changed everything. He believes Charlo deserves credit for capitalizing on that opening, but he also feels that if they fought 10 times, the outcome would not always be the same. That's why he's publicly calling for another opportunity. Lubin argues that today's version of himself is mentally stronger, physically tougher, and technically superior. He's convinced that over 12 rounds, he has the boxing ability to outthink and outbox Charlo rather than allowing the fight to be decided by a single punch. Whether fans agree or disagree, his confidence is impossible to ignore. Of course, that leads to the biggest question surrounding the story. Would Jermell Charlo even be interested in a rematch? Charlo has accomplished nearly everything a fighter can achieve in the super welterweight division. He unified all 4 major world titles and became the undisputed champion before pursuing bigger opportunities outside the division. His resume includes victories over several world-class opponents, and he has established himself as one of the most successful fighters of his generation. However, after spending time away from the ring and moving between weight classes, fans continue to speculate about what comes next for Charlo. If he decides to return to active competition, a rematch with Erickson Lubin could become one of the most compelling fights available. The storyline writes itself. One fighter is looking to prove that his devastating knockout victory was no accident, while the other is seeking redemption and hoping to erase the most painful memory of his career. Boxing has always been built on redemption stories, and history has shown that rematches often produce completely different outcomes. We've seen fighters lose badly the first time only to come back years later with greater experience, improved skills, and a completely different mindset. That's exactly what Lubin believes would happen if he gets another opportunity against Charlo. Still, there are plenty of fans who believe Charlo would simply repeat history. They argue that elite punching power, timing, and championship experience cannot be underestimated, and that Charlo has already proven he knows exactly how to beat Lubin. Others believe the years have changed both fighters enough to make a second fight far more competitive than the first. It's one of those matchups that naturally divides opinion, and that's exactly why people want to see it. Whether the rematch happens this year, next year, or never at all, Erickson Lubin's comments have successfully brought this rivalry back into the spotlight. His willingness to challenge a former undisputed champion shows that he still believes his best days are ahead of him and that he's determined to become a world champion before his career is over. Confidence has always been one of the defining qualities of elite fighters, and Lubin clearly has plenty of it. Now the ball is in Jermell Charlo's court. Will Charlo respond to the challenge,